Man, I am absolutely overblown, joy, full of excitement, and everything in between to do this particular podcast on today. Now, listen, guys, it is Monday, well, I was say November, not November. No, Monday, March 17th. We live. We in the 100 and whatever countries all over the world. So what I want to do is shout out all of my people in Brazil. I want to shout out all of my people in South Africa, all of my people in Australia, all of my people in the European Union, the African Union. Matter of fact, every union that's out there, everybody that's in CARICOM, everybody that's all over the world, especially my people in the United States, and of course, Kelly, I got to shout out all my people in New Orleans. Nola, what's good? What's good, baby? And of course, the ATL. Before I get into anything, because I want to dive right into this, this is a very powerful topic today. I want to shout out everybody. I want to shout out all of my friends, family, relatives. Go to all of the social media platforms, like, subscribe, share. Y'all know the routine. Do all of those wonderful things. That's good. But listen, I got a special for you today. One of my dear friends, my dear sisters, my girl, all the way from the A. I ain't gonna say all of her details. She could tell y'all that later. But we were actually at a conference recently. We was just out having a little good time, and well, I ain't gonna tell y'all what we was doing because that's not y'all business. Y'all gonna be all like, "Oh, what y'all was doing?" No, that's not your business. Let's just say we were empowering people and elevating people. So we started to talk and we had a conversation real briefly about this particular topic, and I thought it was absolutely apropos for her to come on and share some wisdom with you guys on today. So all the way from Atlanta, via Kentucky, via all over the world, via a very powerful individual, via a very smart individual. And fellas, she's a looker. So go to YouTube. You can see what I mean. But on top of all of that, her brilliance is second to none. Her intellect is overwhelming. So y'all do me a favor and help welcome to the front of the Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette for the first time, but definitely not the last time, my girl, my sister, Kelly Rowlands. Kelly, what's good, baby?
Hey, thank you for such a lovely introduction.
Oh, now you're gonna be shy. Oh, okay, all right.
I'm not okay. I'm a warm up in too. You can't just like dive into the deep end. Just we dog paddle right now. So yeah.
Okay, I understand. I understand. I understand. How you doing? What's good?
I'm doing good considering the circumstances. And even though it's a very stressful time, I owe it all to just the stress of just accepting change and
Yes.
not no longer being in a comfort zone. So that's the only, I can't even say it's a negative thing. I think that it's just an opportunity to rise above a challenge. So
Okay.
mm,
So let's dig into this. So family, Kelly and I, we had a very incredible conversation, but I want you guys to listen to this. I guess we're going to name it the consequences of not voting, right? I don't know. We were just figuring this out, but the consequences of not voting. Here's what I mean by that. There's been some consequences that most people don't know the other side of it. You know, most people are looking at Pennsylvania Avenue and all of that debauchery that's going on over there and all of that, that's whatever. But there are some consequences on the other side that most people don't think about. And first, I wanted to talk to Kelly, but Kelly, I'm gonna let you go on, and we're gonna chop this up. So first, tell the people who you are. Like they look at the screen and be like, okay, she's powerful, but it's Kelly. Tell us who's Kelly Rowlands.
my name is Kelly Rollins, and not to be confused with the girl from Destiny's Child. Um, I am originally from Madisonville, Kentucky. I graduated from the University of Louisville, where I got my bachelor's degree in political science. And I relocated to Atlanta via my job in 2008 with the General Services Administration. And I worked there, May would have been 18 years. And
Wait,
so,
hold on. Wait, hold on. For you said GSA. You talking about the people that deal, as I call it, the real estate for the government.
Yes, General Service Administration. It's the federal agency, which is pretty much the behind the scenes, that sets the foundational work for the government that makes sure that we actually, there's two parts: the public building services, which owns and operates the courthouses, the federal buildings, does the leases where you have your offices such as Social Security, IRS. We do the contracts for those offices to set those up. Pretty much any contract that's done with building management, we facilitate those all
Okay,
the way
all
down
right.
to concessions, the maintenance, the groundwork, everything.
Wow, wow. So let me ask this: you're the person, one of the people, I'll just say it that way, behind the scenes, uh what would I say? I don't say overacting, but overseeing is a better word. Overseeing not just the contracts, but also you have a lot of individuals, futures in their hand, whether it's maintenance crew, whether it's the janitorial services, whether it's construction workers of putting everything together, so on, so on, and so on. And recently, you had some news or an email or something that came to you. Could you share with everybody what happened?
Oh, let me also add that we also are the agency that runs the White House. So we have a
Oh,
particular
oh,
region, the capital region, that actually operates the White House and does the transitional phase after the election. So we play a key role in transitioning from one president of administration to another.
okay, okay.
And
So
so
y'all, so you guys are literally on the ground, literally maintaining the White House and all of that good stuff to keep the beauty and the beautification and the loveliness and the
mhm,
museum type atmosphere in some parts. And that, okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And even
That's
whenever
beautiful.
FEMA's deployed, we're also deployed with FEMA to go set up the FEMA offices. So that's a
Wow.
big deal.
That's a huge deal because
Mhm,
a lot of my people from New Orleans understand once Katrina
mhm.
hit, that's a lot to say. So
Yeah.
so first of all, thank you for what you did and what your team has done and the people you've overseen have done and all of the help and assistance that you've given to countless amount of individuals and Americans throughout the country. By the way, my international folks, just stand by, fellas. Just suck up this with us and be a part of it. But I want to thank you because a lot of people, I know it's a thankless job because most
Mhm.
people don't even know, but I just want to say thank you. So I'm sorry, continue on sharing.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because we, first and foremost, we consider ourselves to be public servants and we are adversaries to make sure that we use the best purpose of the federal tax dollar. And we take an oath when we take our position to uphold the Constitution and not a person. So regardless of what administration is in power, we make sure that we have our priorities set to make sure that we are upholding and acting ethically in everything that we do in our positions.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And thank you for that oath, because
Mhm.
I understand a little bit from my, as I like to say, from my yesteryear services in the police department. I understand that oath. Don't matter who's the president, the governor, the mayor, the superintendent, the police chief, doesn't matter. We still have to uphold. I'm gonna get my words together at some point. Uphold the Constitution of the federal government, the Constitution of the state, the city, ordinances, and so on. So thank you so much for you and your team and all those people. So what happened on this email? What happened on this email?
Well, going back, of course, we know after the election or before the election, there was that good thing called Project 2025 that was going around.
Yes,
And a part of that, a lot of people recall, was they were talking about reducing the federal government. And there was no plan of what that will look like. I do believe that it did say about 50%, but in everybody's mind, that was unfathomable because
right.
how could you do without 50% of the workforce and then expect to get more productivity? So when it was rolling out, um, everything starts with a rumor, and you kind of see things where, you see it on TV. And the thing about this thing is that nothing has been done in following proper protocol. There's not been any transparency in communication. And so it's literally, we were finding out things day by day, or either watching the news, or
Wow.
better yet, following X. And I'm not even on X, but of course those things go viral nowadays. And we were facing rumors where it was like, okay, where the rift is coming, and it almost sounds like it's like a thunderstorm or something, like, okay, this is
Right.
gonna come down. And it was like, who are they gonna keep? And at first it was the voluntary retirement and voluntary resignation that came forth, where people can volunteer to stay on until September, which is the end of our fiscal year, and they would be on
Right.
administrative leave, or people could take an early retirement, and some people did
Okay.
that. The only thing with that made a lot of people like myself weary, because if you're like middle career, like I said, about to go on 18 years, not, not ready to retire, but so invested in the game, was that there was a lot of gray areas in the language. One of which
Yes.
it somewhat took away it sounded like you were giving up your legal rights to pursue any type of liability suits or of things of that nature. And so a lot of people didn't take it. And so there was a day where there was a rumor where it's like, okay, we had to send up a list. Nobody knew who was on the list. Then a
Right.
Friday came, I believe that was March the 1st or the 2nd. And I was told by a friend that a particular person had got rifted, which is reduction in force. And so
Wow.
Um, and then that Monday evening, here's the good part. At 6:27 p.m., I received a
Yes.
text on my personal phone from my supervisor telling me and my coworkers to check our emails because another rift had went out. And we all received that email notifying us that, in the language, it said that our organization had been abolished. When you think
Wow.
of abolishing something, you think of abolishing as getting something rid of something that was illegal or cause harm, but term was abolished, and that our positions were terminated. And
Wow.
you can recall some of the, I have to believe it, honestly, the email just sounded like it was written by it was written in a way, but there was no name behind it. It came from a generic HR email. Um, Nobody to contact if you had any questions.
Wow.
And pretty much said, I'm on administrative leave for 30 days. Then they'll notify me after 30 days what my benefits are. And then I'll have another 60 days.
Wow. So okay. This worse than I thought. Okay. I'm trying to calm myself down. So they literally sent you an email, didn't pick up the phone, didn't say come to HR, didn't say let's hop on a Zoom. They sent an email and say basically you're rifted, and but no other explanation, so you don't know whether to come to the office, not come to the office. Will I get paid, not paid? Will I be able to get
Oh, no,
retirement, no return?
it said we don't know. It's paid administrative leave for 3 months. We don't know anything about severance. Um, and another thing to where we thought we were safe is because Congress has not approved any of this. Um,
Yes.
um, the proper risk protocols are not being followed. Because typically, whenever there's a reorganization, they're supposed to, reassign people. Nobody's reassigned. They literally, and this is just in our region. And keep in mind, we have 11 regions.
Okay.
Region 4, which is our region, the region office in Atlanta, we are the largest region in our organization. So they started with the largest region, and we deal with the most. We have issues with hurricanes. We deal with a lot of
Yes.
seismic issues. We deal with a lot of disasters, from snowstorms to floodings to tornadoes. We have to deal with those type of issues. And right now, if anything was to happen, I couldn't tell you who's going to respond because we are all on administrative leave. So if
Wow.
FEMA was to have something go on, we would not know who was supposed to be with FEMA.
Whoa. And we all know that there's going to be a hurricane,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, unfortunately, but there's going to be a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a tornado. There's going to be some type of torrential rain that's going to come. And you're saying basically nobody is in headquarters to answer the phone?
There's no contingency plan. If there was a project that I was working on, nothing was transitioned. I just so happened to read my email today, and one of my clients, for one of the law enforcement agencies, it was kind of really funny because I was just like I don't know what planet she was on. Um, I didn't know before, but I sure questioned what planet she's on now. But she was asking me about her projects because she heard that she listed like 5 people, everybody had left, and what's the status of the projects? And I'm like, nobody left. We were forced out. Well, have you not been following the news? Nobody just leaves at this point. So why would you think that just 5 people on one team would just leave? And from I'm not sure how many people was let off. I've heard for a number of 500 people just in that are working out of the Atlanta office alone. And that's at the Martin Luther King Federal Building downtown. And that was around 500 people, I believe. So that's people that
So
were
many
also,
questions.
yeah.
It's so many questions
Mhm.
that I know not just me, but so many people in the audience have. Like, I don't even know where to start with questions because some of the stuff is like, okay, this is common sense. If we're going to have a reduction, well, we still have the work that has to be done. If you're trying to downsize, okay, you have to move people into place, give them those responsibilities so everything will still continue to flow forward. But based on your expert knowledge and what you're sharing, and I'm gonna use it in my language, there's nobody at the switch. There's nobody answering the phone at headquarters. so, in my opinion, this also creates a security risk on multitude. And if GSA have to deal with that, I'm sure they have something to do with law enforcement and their movements. And if that's the case, so now we're talking about federal law enforcement. We're talking about dealing with the FEMA, and so I'm blown away. So let me ask this for all of the negative people and the people that say, well, maybe she has some discipline issues and maybe she was at the lowest part of her game and they are just eliminating all of those people. What say you about that, about yourself and then all of the other individuals that you know was basically forced out?
I'm glad you asked that question because in that email, it specifically states that it had nothing to do with my performance or any disciplinary action. They added that language in there.
Wow.
And
So
out of
so
our range, I was actually exceeded expectations on my performance review last year. I did receive a 4 out of 5.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you exceeded expectations. Matter of fact, just so people know how the federal, I have some knowledge, but I want everybody to know the ratings are the 1 through 5. So how does the ratings go? So all of our listeners, our family will know what does that mean?
Pretty much a 3 is that you're meeting expectations. A four, and it's honestly somewhat difficult to get above a three because there are certain performance measures that we use, and you have to identify on each level um what part of, explain how you met that certain credential in your performance. And
Yes.
sometimes it's even hard when you're to be a five because you have to be on certain programs. And unfortunately, I know they were in the process of revising our performance plan because some of the things that they listed weren't exactly a part of our day-to-day duties. And there were some opportunities that we were provided to be on, national teams or certain projects that pretty much what it wasn't fair for us to expect us to meet that expectation if the work wasn't there. So that was actually in the process of being reviewed.
Wow.
Mm.
So you exceeded expectations, no disciplinary marks, and on top of all of that, they turn back around and in their email. By the way, I think that's weak. I'm gonna just that's punkish. You don't tell somebody you're gonna end a career on an email. That's weak. But anyway, I'll
It
get
did
to
not
that another.
address me personally. It was pretty much a BCC, and that was it. No name behind the email, nothing.
No name behind the email. Basically, like you say, a VCC. For those that don't know, that's blind carbon copy. Sent to your email. No direct communication with HR, but just a generic stamp at the, I'll say stamp, but a generic signature at the bottom, and no
There
direction after that.
no signature, no nothing, no thank you, no nothing.
So 18 years, you built your career, and I'm sure you were not a GS2, but basically that's the rate and pay that federal governments do. So I know you were not like a GS2. So I'm sure you were high ranking in your GS status and making substantial money. I'll say it that way, a quality of life. So my question now becomes, I don't want to say how many, but if you went through that yourself, first of all, how are you mentally? How, you know, we're gonna have to do a part two because there's so many questions that I have. It's like it's mind boggling. Before I get to the mental part, let me ask this. Lord, this is a lot, y'all. This is a lot. So if you have done all of those things and they basically forced you out, and there's nobody at the actual headquarters or at the switch to actually begin navigating all of this, where do we collectively stand as an audience? Excuse me, as a country. Where do we stand as a country?
Um, to me, I think it really shows who we are as a country because as you see, there's been this propaganda campaign against federal employees. Where this energy was the first term he was in office is beyond me. Um, it's never, no administration has ever attacked federal employees because like I said, we actually have a very high standard of expectations to uphold. Let me just say that if I had a 34 felonies, I would be dismissed from my job because as a federal employee, anything that is seen to portray the public's trust in a
Yes.
violation of ethics, we are dismissed for. You cannot have a felony as a federal employee, but apparently it allows you to be the president of the United States. So let's think about that. Um, any type of thing mishandling money, anything violence, DUIs, those type of behaviors, it would get you dismissed from the federal government. Whenever
Wow.
we have to go through background checks,
Yes.
thorough background checks. You're talking about your credit check, your criminal history check, personal interview, reference checks, everything. So they're not just letting anybody willy-nilly walk through the door.
Correct.
So myself and all of my coworkers across the country, um, we all um, had very, very strong backgrounds and educated and lots of experience and worked and showed up 100% and more every single day to do our jobs and to serve the American people. And to see us represented from this in our hard work and dedication dismissed because we don't get overtime. We the only time we probably get overtime is maybe for a FEMA thing. But even
Yes.
if we work late, which we're not supposed to do, but several people do, we don't get credit for that because they're not going to approve overtime. But a lot of people do it just out of dedication to the job.
Right. Right.
So
Dedication to people.
yeah. And so I really hope my fear, even though I know I have myself to worry about, is how it's going to have this. Maybe people aren't going to see it or understand it or sympathize with civil servants and federal employees until they understand how it impacts them personally when services are cut off, when they're not able to go get help at their social security office or IRS or however court proceedings are going to take place. Um, those things are really, it's going to be a snowball effect um, to the
Wow.
amount of services because I do not see, nobody knows what the objective of this this reduction is. Um, we all know what that 1 + 1 = 2.
Yes.
This is just not adding up. Or how can you
Yes.
say that you're going to make it more efficient, but you're reducing the workforce by half, no contingency plan, um, and on top of that, you're adding to the unemployment rate. The more I'm thinking about it, it's just like, yo, this is really about to hit hard. And
And
the
then
people,
now you,
yeah.
go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if you think about everything else, it's like that's where my anxiety comes from. It's like, because I truly believe that you ask how's my mental health. My mental health is I'm actually quite surprised. I have to say I have a good therapist. Um, I have which taught me a lot of good coping skills. And I think that if I didn't have that tenacity about me, then I would be in some trouble. And I have heard of cases where people have committed suicide, and those stories aren't
Wow.
being told. So,
Yeah.
that's one of my concerns too, is that there are people who are going to be struggling mentally, with the uncertainty of what their next step is. And so
So,
the only thing I can do is just pray, and just have faith that it's going to work out in my favor.
well, first of all, it will work out in your favor.
Hmm.
And I'm, I'm a strong spiritual believer, right?
Hmm.
So all of the things that are being done is going to work out in your favor, regardless. It's going to work out in your favor. I've never seen a righteous forsaken,
Thank
nor
you.
begging
Yeah.
for bread. I've never seen that. But that being said, it's also, as my mentor would tell me sometimes, as strong as you are spiritually, there are some things that if somebody cut you on your arm, you're still gonna bleed, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
still gonna
Mhm.
bleed. So first thing is my concern with you as my sister, my girl, is making sure number one, you're mentally healthy. I'm not talking
Yes.
about, and forgive me for saying, I ain't talking about the foolishness everybody else be talking, walking around. Oh yeah, I'm good, and I'm talking about, are you mentally healthy? Because in the middle of the night, when everybody else is asleep, how's Kelly? And that's my
Mhm.
first concern. But guess what, Kelly? Not just with you, but your other GSA workers, the other people in the VA, the other people in what's the other one? Oh, IRS. You know, I can go down this list who's getting this email, and they were the breadwinners of their family.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they have no health care. Like you said, unemployment is skyrocketing.
Hmm.
Um, so anxiety now is shooting through the roof. And then you're telling me you're reducing to cut the budget or to save money? Boy, stop.
Right. And that's what I was gonna say too. So and we're the ones that's having to suffer from these trade wars, um the inflation sure didn't go down. I mean, I thought day one the cost of eggs was gonna go down. I just spent $10 the other day on some eggs. So broken promises, I mean, they're right. This everything's in front of you. But what I will say is that he's doing exactly what he said he would do, except for the eggs, from what I understand.
So,
It
Kelly,
was
let me ask
written,
this
it was
question.
written right there.
Let me ask this question. Kelly, I'm gonna ask this openly. Are you open to doing a part two of our conversation? Are you open to
Yeah.
doing a part two of our,
Oh yeah.
because this is so rich. This is so rich because I think collectively society as a whole thinking it's just, oh, they're putting tariffs on Canada and Mexico, but really missing the individual or individuals and the families that are having to deal with this. Even with ICE, I recently saw this. This was heartbreaking. They break in, I don't say break into, but they bang somebody door and they go in there and they say you're illegal. And the people show all of their documents. They still ran them off to an ICE lockup and then come back and say, oh, no, that's right. You are legal. Okay, don't worry about we came. Who do they turn to? Oh, I forgot. Everybody's laid off. Everybody's been forced out. So you can't even do anything. It is so much we have to talk about this again.
Yeah, and I know the top going back, I guess to bring it into the topic as well, is showing not just the importance of voting, but how you vote. Because I've seen things where, of course, now the Latino, hope I'm using the term correctly, community is experiencing things with immigration. But more than half of that community voted for Trump.
That's right.
And this was on his agenda, was he said mass deportations. Um, and just going back here, like I'm saying, even with Project 25, he said he was going to do this. And here it is. It's affecting myself and thousands of federal employees. And not even just that, but funding. I know people that receive grants. I have friends that work for EPA, CDC, and VA. There are individual companies who receive grants. One of my cousin, she operates a recovery center back in Kentucky, and she was telling me how she was expecting to get a grant. I'm not sure if it was from Health and Human Services or what fund it was, but she was like that funding was cut off. So those type of grants that's out there is that's supposed to provide assistance are no longer available to the people that it was intended to serve.
Wow.
And especially with the cutoff of like EPA and even GSA, we support organizations for the blind, um, that they do some of our vending in our buildings. We
Yes.
support small businesses. And even with the executive order, it affected us because we did have to go and do an audit of contracts that had any language that was outlined in a DEI in one of his executive orders. And so I'm
So
not
we
sure
should.
if those contracts were canceled or what, but I did have a friend that worked for the Department of Transportation who said she experienced the same thing, and that those contracts were supposed to be, I guess, audited or, I'm not sure honestly, so I can't really speak on, but I will say that they have questioned contracts, and that's exactly how deep voting your interest goes.
We please come back because we we just scratching the surface. We are literally just scratching the surface because we not only talk about mental health, we're talking about not reduction of income. I mean, a loss of income, not a reduction, complete loss of income. Some people are
Yeah.
making six figures. Now all of a sudden they're making zero figures. We talking about a mental health side. We're talking about anxiety through the roof. I mean, it's so many different things. Now, here's another thing that I don't think a lot of people think about. And then we're going to climb out of here on this. I just want to say this. What about the kids?
Yeah.
What about the kids? We're not even thinking about the kids. And most people be like, well, how the kids got to do with the federal government? Well, if Kelly have 5 children and those 5 children are relying on their mom and dad to pay tuition or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden one day it went from we good to I don't know what's going to happen. What type of anxiety is going to hit the kids? What's going to happen with them? Yeah. Please come back, Kelly. We
Yeah. Yeah. And let me just add this too. I didn't really, I'm going to go back and add something about how I got here. After I graduated, in 2005, I had somewhat was at a crossroads what I wanted to do because I didn't want to, I had this, um, I don't know what I was going through at the time, but I kind of changed my direction about wanting to go to law school. And I found myself out there just wanting to jump into being in the workforce and or just taking a break, not realizing what that really meant. So I found myself working whatever job would pretty much hire me. Um, it because it was just the so I mean out of desperation. Even I went through a temp agency one time and they called me, offered me a job for $6, and I was like, I have a college degree. Well, okay. So I did get into a leadership program with Target and I worked there for a year. And then at the same time, I had actually interviewed for GSA. One of my mentors had connected me with it was I think it was administration of Black Public Administrators. I think it was what it was called. Um I'm pretty sure, but it was something with Black Public Administrators. They were having a conference there. And I went and had my resume. And by the time I had left there, I had a connection with the University of Kansas and I had a connection with GSA. And within the week, I had an interview scheduled at GSA, and then I had an interview scheduled at University of Kansas. I got accepted to their public administration program. And but fast forward, I ended up putting off a year for University of Kansas, and I stayed with GSA because I thought it was just an internship. It took me a year to start this internship, and then I realized that this internship was going to be like triple my salary in 3 years, and I'm like, well, people,
wow.
yeah, go to school to get this type of job, and here I am climbing up the ladder and all the good opportunities that were afforded to me. I mean, they were paying for school, conferences, I traveled. Um, but I will say throughout the years, those opportunities and the morale did decrease. They stopped paying for education. Conferences were a dime a dozen. More scrutiny was put on travel. Um, and it's always the first thing that goes in a budget is training. Um, and so it was almost like the livelihood, just the morale and everything that was there in the beginning, it had shifted over the past decade. It's nothing like it was when I first came in. And I think that's also why I'm actually more relieved because the way that they were were putting us under scrutiny. And I mean, they were saying stuff like they were going to be monitoring our computers, putting software on our computers that would track
Oh, wow.
our keystrokes, monitoring how we moved around in the building. Um, it was like we were under surveillance.
Wow.
And yes. And so to me, getting that notification, I know I would not have been in a good mental health space to have to deal with that every day. And I
Yeah,
would have to, yeah. So I would have been sacrificing my mental health for a paycheck. And so I think now with everything that's going on, um, I'll be a spiritual person. I know God would not have wanted me to function. My God doesn't do chaos. And so I
right.
believe that he removes our me and my kind of my coworkers for a purpose. And
Absolutely.
yes, I believe and that's why I believe there's a purpose, because he doesn't want for us to be in that chaos. And I do know that we were the backbone. The people were the backbone of GSA. We were the
Absolutely.
backbone of that. We were the foundations of the building. And so they're the ones that's going to have to FAFO, they say, So
So
yeah,
let
yeah,
so let me let's do this. Would you come back next week? You gonna come back next week?
course, of
All right.
course.
So listen, we're gonna stop it here, family. And we coming back next week. Man, there's so much more to unpack. Why? It's so much more to unpack in this. So listen, Kelly, thank you so much, sis, for coming through. There's more we gonna talk about. There's more we're gonna talk about.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
looking forward to you. I made sure I was as politically correct as I could be. So
hey, that's great. You don't have to be with me, so but that's great. So listen, I appreciate you and all that
look,
you've done.
when I'm not on administrative leave, right now I'm still on paper. Look,
Yeah. We gonna stay
catch
there.
me in 90 days and see what I got to say. But yeah,
Oh,
we still.
yes. But next week we're gonna come back, family, with my sister Kelly. We're gonna dig further into this. As a matter of fact, if y'all have any questions for Kelly, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. Go to let's talk .com. Let's talk with Stanley Doucette.com. Send me an email and I'll read it. We'll get into that discussion as well. So again, Kelly, we love you. Thank you so much. For everybody that's listening, don't forget to go to all of the social media platforms, like, subscribe, share, send messages, send us whatever questions that you have, and we're gonna get them answers next week. So that being said, I love you guys, and we're gonna see you guys on the beaches of the world. Talk to y'all next week with this powerful conversation. Matter of fact, y'all better grab some people to listen to this one. Love y'all, and we out. Y'all be good. Peace.